Now, if you're new to the Bitcoin space, here is some information that I think you could benefit from. The agenda is as follows. We'll talk a little bit about acquiring Bitcoin, we'll talk about storing Bitcoin, and we will talk about verifying Bitcoin. I'll also take you through some of the next steps that I think you may wish to consider. So when it comes to acquiring Bitcoin, there's 3 ways to acquire Bitcoin. You can earn it. So for example, if you have a business or if you have some goods or services that you are producing, then you can always ask for payment in Bitcoin. That is the best way of acquiring Bitcoin. However, I concede that not everyone is able to do that. Now, the next way of acquiring Bitcoin is through mining it. As an individual, this is probably not something that you will be able to do in any sort of effective way. It requires specialized hardware, specialized skills, and all those sorts of things. This is something that is just literally out of reach to individuals. So the next thing that you can do is buy Bitcoin. Now you've got 2 options here. You can go down the non-KYC exchange route, or you can go down the KYC exchange route. Now, what does KYC stand for? It essentially means know your customer, which basically means that whenever you conduct a fiat to Bitcoin transaction, you will need to provide your government issued identification. There are ways that you can purchase Bitcoin using a non-KYC exchange method. So for example, you might have a local meetup whereby you may be able to arrange for a cash deal where you bring cash along and you meet that person and you do the exchange like so. Now, if you are doing in-person cash trades like this, it's probably wise to do it in a public area. It really is up to you how you want to conduct these trades, but that is one option for you. Now, they could be few and far between. You might not get the right amount that you want, and depending on the level of risk, you might be paying a premium for them. There are other methods that you can use to do online rather than doing in person, such as Bisq and HODL HODL. These 2 are what's known as decentralized peer-to-peer exchanges, and so both of these fall under the non-KYC exchange because they don't require any identification information when you buy or sell Bitcoin. Generally, though, you will find that some of these exchanges or these peer-to-peer exchanges, the liquidity is quite thin, meaning that you probably will be paying a little bit of a premium for them, but also you might not get the amount that you want. So for maybe small amounts, $200, $300, $400, then that's fine. But then if you want to do thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, you may struggle. But it really just depends on what the market at that time is doing. It's improving, but again, it depends on your location and there's factors involved here. Now, the other way to acquire Bitcoin is through a KYC exchange. Now, these are often just signing up on a website, a reputable exchange, and you are able to deposit your money in, your government issued money, and you're able to buy Bitcoin with it. Now, you will have to also what's known as provide or KYC, which is basically just providing your government issued identity. Now, the risk with that is that when these companies take your identity information, they may not be able to keep it safe. And so if that information is ever leaked and broadcast out to people or even sent to people on purpose or sold, then that can present risks for you and your address, your date of birth, and your picture, and all those sorts of things. So it really is a risk that you are taking. Now, some of these exchanges will outsource this whole function of taking and collecting your identity information to other businesses, but who knows what those other businesses are doing and how airtight their security and procedures are. This is something that could potentially eventuate if you give away your identity information. So that's something to consider as well. At some stage, though, you will need to figure out how best you can acquire Bitcoin. And many people have gone down the path of a KYC exchange. There are reputable ones out there, but the key lesson is that if you are going down the KYC exchange route, then I would strongly suggest that you get your coins off the exchange. And what that means is when you buy Bitcoin on an exchange, many people just leave them there. Now, what that really means is an IOU. The exchange owes you money. Now, exchanges are a honeypot, so there's a lot of background to them, and in the back end, who knows how they're storing their Bitcoins and if it's secure or not. So when they go to process your withdrawal, if they get hacked or if something happens to those coins, well, you're going to be out of money. And so this is something that has happened throughout the course of exchanges, and it is something that will continue to happen, whereby exchanges get hacked or something happens to them or they go down and people are left without their money. So the key lesson here is to essentially take your Bitcoins off the exchange. So that brings me to my next point, which is storing Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is something that you can, for the first time, a money that you can actually hold for yourself without the need of a trusted third party, for example, a bank. Now, to do this, you need a Bitcoin wallet. Now, there are multiple Bitcoin wallets out there on the market, and they come in the form of software as well as hardware. Now, you have mobile wallet options, so for example, Blue Wallet or Samurai Wallet. You also have desktop wallets like Electrum or Spectre. And you've also got hardware wallets like Trezor, Ledger, and Coldcard, which are the main three providers of hardware wallets in the space. But common amongst most wallets is the BIP39 standard. Now, I just want to take you through the back end to how Bitcoin wallets work. And so then we'll talk a little bit about more of the practical side of things. Now, the common is this standard called BIP39. BIP stands for Bitcoin Improvement Proposal, and basically it's just like a standard, and 39 is the number that was issued to it. Now, I'm going to take you through to a website called the Ian Coleman BIP39 website, and this is a fantastic website for learning. Now, from what I'm doing here is for demonstration purposes only. And I'm just going to show you how things work when it comes to Bitcoin wallets. So here is a little bit of the theory behind it. I'm going to go to this website called Ian Coleman. So I'm just going to Ian Coleman BIP39, and it is this website here. Now, in here, when you fire up a Bitcoin wallet, the first thing that you do is to create a wallet, and it will generate a list of 12 or 24 words. It doesn't really matter if you get 12 or 24. Both have very, very good security. But generally speaking, you might get for hardware wallets, it's 24, and for mobile wallets, I'm seeing now 12 as the thing to do. So let's generate a 12 wallet or 12 word seed phrase is what they call it. So when we generate here, we get 12 words. Now, where do these 12 words come from? These 12 words come from a list. It's called the BIP39 word list, which you can also Google, BIP39 word list, and it is in here. And so this is a list of 2048 words, and so each of these words that have been generated here randomly come from this massive list of 2048 words. That is something that you need to protect. This is something that you will use to recover your funds in the event that something goes wrong with your Bitcoin wallet. Now, this is a very, very, very important piece of set of words because this will recover your public keys and your private keys. So it does both. Now, as we go down here, we can see that there are some derived addresses here. So based on these 12 words, you are ultimately deriving these addresses here. Now, in Bitcoin, there are 3 types of addresses. There's the legacy addresses, which start with the character 1, okay? and or the number 1. There's also addresses that start with 3, which is called the nested SegWit. And so if we click on the derivation path BIP49, we will get the addresses starting with the number 3. And we also then have native SegWit, which is BIP84. And these addresses start with BC1Q, okay? So these are the 3 types of Bitcoin addresses that are out there. Now, when you ask for someone to pay you, you will give them this address here, this whole string of characters. And this will be backed up by these 12 words, which then can also give you what's known as the private key. So you get a public key and a private key, and you give out these addresses here. I've shown 20 here, but you can go up to however many as you want. So there are actually 2 billion addresses that can be generated from this set of words here. And so you can generate not only the public key from here, but also the private key. So this is a list of now 200 addresses. This can go up to 2 billion. And so you can, each time you want somebody to pay you, you generate them a new address. You give them a new address. And so, say for example, you are withdrawing from the exchange. You will give them this this address and say, hey, can you please withdraw it to here? So this is how basic wallets work. Now, if you want to do a watch-only wallet, this is where you need what's known as the xpub, the ypub, or the zpub. Now, if you go back to BIP44, these are the one or the legacy addresses. These have a derivation path of M44, okay? And they will produce what's known as an xpub. So this is your master public key, okay? And this is something that you should be looking to protect, but it's not a security concern as because it's just a public key. No one is able to spend the funds. However, if they have the extended private key, the xpriv, that would mean that they have the ability to spend your funds as well. So essentially, what you want to protect is everything that's on this page, basically, but in particular, the 12 words that get generated, but also the xpriv. The xpub, you need to keep that secure for privacy reasons, but not for security reasons. And you probably also want to make note of the derivation path. The stock standard derivation paths for each of the 3 address types is M44 for the BIP44, M49 for BIP49, which gets you the 3 addresses, and you also have the BIP84, which is M84 for the BC1 addresses. And you can see here that this is like a keychain, so it just keeps rolling down the page. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see that it's sequential like that. So these are the types of Bitcoin addresses. Now, generally speaking, you will want native SegWit. This is the ones that start with BC1. So those are the most recent form of addresses that Bitcoin currently has. And this is the one that you should be asking your exchange to pay to. Okay. Now, this is a great website for you to play around with and have a look at and understand a little bit more about Bitcoin addresses. Now, let's try to import some of this into existing wallet software so you get a bit of an understanding of how things work. Now, a very, very popular wallet is called Electrum. Now, let me fire that one up here. And I'm going to create a new wallet, okay? And I'm going to call it, maybe just go the in common site. And we want this as our native SegWit. Okay, so let's just call it that. Next. We'll do standard wallet, and we say we already have a seed. So next here. Now it says please enter your seed phrase. Now never do this with any address that you have or any set of words that have been generated for you. So you just copy this and you paste that through. And in the options, we will make this as BIP39 seed, okay, and we'll click next. Now this is native SegWit. It's not legacy, it's not P2SH SegWit, which is the 3, and this one is the native SegWit one. So that's what we're after. We're after M84. So we'll go next, and we'll just click next on here as well. Now have a look at these addresses. This one ends in this first address ends in 5ZMFE. So let's have a look here. 5ZMFE. Fantastic. So you can see that your wallet is able to be transacted or is able to be replicated in this same fashion across all Bitcoin wallets, okay, that follow the BIP39 standard. Now, if you want, you can also right click here and look at the private key, and you'll see that this L11 ending in XHD should also marry up to the private key that's here as well. You can also look at the details of this, and you can see the public key as well also matches for this address. Okay, so you get receiving addresses and you get change addresses. Now, let me talk a little bit about the change addresses. Essentially, in Bitcoin, when you receive Bitcoin, you will get what's known as a UTXO, or what's known as a unspent transaction output. So when you receive money and you go to this section here and you say, all right, give me a new address, and you give this out, it will pop up in your history as something that's been paid. This will also show up in the coins section, and this is the actual coin that you have. This is what's known as a UTXO. Now, your UTXO is your unspent transactions, or your unspent transaction outputs. And so you use those for inputs into new transactions that you want to make. So what generally happens is you'll have one input, meaning that coin. So say, for example, you asked your exchange to withdraw 5 Bitcoins onto your wallet. So you would generate a receive, and you'll give them this address, and they will put 5 Bitcoins in this wallet. So you'll have a UTXO here of 5 Bitcoins. Now you wanted to spend that. So say, for example, you wanted to spend 2 at a shop, and your change address will be 3. Okay, so you'll get 3 Bitcoins back. So what that means is that will be in the form of one of these addresses here. So what will happen is you will spend, so start off with 5, 2 go to the shop that you are interested in paying, and 3 come back to you in the form of change, just like you would if you were to give a $50 note and you got, $20 back, okay, for a $30 spend. That is how a Bitcoin kind of your UTXOs work. Think of it like notes in your wallet. So you might have a $50 note, a $30 note, a $20 note. You always pick which one is best for you. You don't want to reveal too much. So for example, if you were buying a $2 coffee, you wouldn't give out the $50 note, you'd give away the $5 note. So that is how you would pick which UTXO is right for the job. And you can do that, what's known, and this is called coin control or coin selection. And so good wallets will have this functionality embedded into them, okay? So that is something that you can also sort of, utilize. Now, let's have a look at the other way. So here is another wallet for your mobile phone. It's called Blue Wallet, okay? Let me just open that up. Okay, so this is Blue Wallet, okay? And let's add a new wallet, and we'll call it My First Wallet. And we'll go Bitcoin, okay? And we'll create. Now, this will have my wallet that's been created here. So let's now import this into Electrum. So let's create a new wallet. Let's call it Blue Wallet. Next, standard wallet, and I already have a seed, and let's put this seed down. So stool, bundle, orange, 7, boy, sol, sweet, route, photo, output, clean, renew. Oop, renew. Okay. Options, BIP39. Okay, and next. This is going to be native SegWit, so I wrote this down. And let's have a look at the first address here. So let's open this up. And here you will see in this wallet, there is the receive and the send. So let's receive. Yes, I have backed this wallet up. And it comes back with BC1Q and ends in 53 and ends in 5ET2P. So let's have a look here. Confirm that. And let's have a look here, 5ET2P. So you can see that these addresses line up, and this private key matches with what's going on in Blue Wallet as well. So you can see that from, importing into different wallets your seed, you get the same result. You get the public key and the private key. Now, say you only wanted to watch a particular wallet. So let's go back to creating a new wallet here. So let's create a watching only wallet. We'll go Bitcoin again. And we import the wallet. Now here you can put in whatever you want. So let's put in what's known as the xpub. So I'm going to take this public key and see if I can import that into my wallet here. So we'll import that. And now let's have a look. Okay, your wallet has been successfully imported. Okay, so it's a watch only wallet. And let's have a look at these receive addresses. And this one ends in 5ZMFE. And if you have a look, 5ZMFE. So you can see that this is a watching only wallet, and they're really, really helpful because the private key is not on your mobile phone and your public keys can be used to give out addresses on the fly. So say, for example, you wanted someone to pay you, you could just generate this address here in your watching only wallet, and you can, utilize that for receiving payments. So that is how public keys and private keys kind of work. Your addresses are something that you give out to people. Your private keys are obviously something that you keep private with you, because that will enable you to spend your funds. Now I want to introduce you to the concept of a passphrase. So for example, if you want to add in a 25th word or in this particular instance, a 13th word, you can do so, but that completely changes the entire wallet. Okay, so say for example, I wanted a passphrase of test, T-E-S-T, all lowercase, and case also matters. So you'll see here that these addresses now end in 8DX7L. Okay, so that is not the same as if I just had these 12 words. It now has a passphrase attached to it, embedded into the cryptography. So what I need is not only just the 12 words to recover, but also the passphrase to recover as well. And that is something that you will need to protect, because nobody can help you with the passphrase. That is something that you must have. Now let's take a look at another wallet, another mobile wallet called Samurai Wallet. Okay, so we'll go here, we'll go start a new wallet, and the first thing it does is to create a passphrase. So I'm going to put in the passphrase of TEST, TEST. It's test. Okay, so I agree with that, and we'll go next. Here is a pin. Now this is just an application control, so I'm just going to leave this as very simple, just 5 ones. Next. Finish. And this will give you what's known as your recovery words again. Now let's take a look at these and write these down. So let's give that a whirl. So it was denial, nose, purity, ridge, hospital, exercise, bomb, inflict, gorilla, minimum, paper, resemble. Okay. So we said that the BIP39 passphrase was going to be test. So let's see if this actually pulls the correct stuff. So let's return to wallet, and we'll skip this paynim stuff and get straight into it. Now let's have a look at the receive addresses. So let's have a look at the first one. So this is ending in JHJVF, and let's see JHJVF. Okay, so this is something that you can use to prove to yourself that this is generating the wallet. However, I would not recommend inserting your real wallet details into this website. Just don't do it. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes that it does actually work. Okay, so this is what gets you your private key back alongside the passphrase. Okay, so just be very, very mindful of what you need to protect. The PIN is something that is an application control. So if you want to get into this app, it's just to stop anyone from getting into the app and spending your funds. But if, for example, you want to actually recover this, say you lost your phone and you needed to recover your funds from your Samurai wallet, you would also need your 12 words as well as the passphrase in this particular instance. Do not put anything into this website. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes only, okay? We need to speak a little bit about hardware wallets, okay? So the premise with hardware wallets is they will generate you 24 words. And the entire, security threat is that if you have a private key, this is one of the questions that you need to ask, is where is the private key being stored? Now, if a private key is being stored on a mobile phone or a computer that's connected to the internet, it is considered hot, meaning that the private key is on a device that is permanently connected to the internet, which presents some level of risk. What a hardware wallet does is essentially allows you to keep the private key on a specialized piece of equipment such that it cannot be extracted out of that device. That is the theory, okay? Now, there are three main popular hardware devices. There's the Trezor, the Ledger, and the Cold Card, okay? Now, these are physical devices that you can buy. They are specialized pieces of equipment that are designed to generate random numbers, which then gives you your 12 or 24 words. All of these guys will produce 24 words. And they are also designed to keep that private key safe. So they will never actually, in theory, should never be extracted out of the device itself from a physical perspective or even from a remote perspective. So that is how these hardware wallets are designed. Let's have a look at a Trezor, for instance. I've got a Trezor here. Let's take a look at this is a Trezor 1. Now I'm going to plug this into my computer, and we will go over to wallet.trezor.io. This is a device that's already been initialized, and it'll ask you for the PIN. So I'm going to put in my PIN. And you can see here that this has generated 3 addresses. So you can see that all of these addresses start with the number 3. Now, in this particular setup, you can see my transaction history here. There's small amounts of funds being sent into and then also sent out. The other thing is you will also find in your Trezor is to show your xpubs, and recall that Trezor specifically uses the 3 addresses. They use the nested SegWit for your wallet, and so they have the ypub. So you can take this ypub and import that into your wallet software. So let's go ahead and do that. So file, new, and we'll call this mon Trezor, and it'll just be watching only. So standard wallet, and you can use a master key, and we'll paste that in. Okay. Now you can see those exact same funds in there, and you can see those exact same addresses being generated out of the account here. So receive, if we just keep scrolling those through, you can see MPYN and then M5RP and so on and so forth. So these are the same addresses as what's going on here. And this is a watching only wallet. And you can import this into various other places. So into any other wallet. And so, yeah, this is something that you can do. So that is what an xpub and a ypub and a zpub is. That's all. I've also explained UTXOs. Now, when you get into transactions, when you receive transactions, you just generate the receive and you ask someone to pay you. It'll come up instantly, but you'll also need to wait for what's known as confirmations. So you can see here that this has 3,280 confirmations as of now. That will continue to increase, but once you receive one confirmation, it's pretty good. Once you receive 6 confirmations, it's considered in the Bitcoin network as final, that will never be reversed. And so that's another thing that you need to get used to, is that once Bitcoins leave your wallet, it cannot be reversed. So you need to pay extreme amounts of detail when you are doing matters of large transactions, or even just small transactions as you try things out. Just be very, very mindful of where it's going, and always check against your hardware wallet as to what the amount and the address that you are paying to. Now, your wallet will also handle all of the change addresses for you, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, another feature of the Trezor is that you can add a passphrase. So if you go over to this section here and go into the advanced section, you can enable passphrase encryption. And what that will do is enable the ability to not go to this wallet, but go to a passphrased wallet. So let's enable this. It says here, if you forget your password, your wallet is lost for good. There is no way to recover your funds. And then it'll ask you to confirm the passphrase encryption on your device itself. So I'm just going to click yes on that. So now you're able to disconnect, and I'm just going to connect it up again. I'm going to put in my PIN, and you will see that it comes up with a notification to enter a passphrase. Now you can leave this blank, or you can put in the passphrase. Now, when it comes to the Trezor 1, unfortunately, what has happened is that the seed out of the Trezor 1 is able to be extracted out of the device if an attacker has physical access to the device. Not a remote access attack, it's a physical access. So what they recommend is to put on a strong passphrase, and a strong passphrase is generally a combination of 5 or 6 words put together. Now you can put together, I'll just demonstrate what a passphrase could potentially be. Obviously don't do this, but for example, you might put quick, brown, fox, jumps, lazy, dog. And so I'm going to confirm that, quick, brown, fox, jumps, lazy, dog. And so you can see that passphrase like that, and you can hit enter, and then confirm your action on your Trezor. And so now you come to a wallet that has completely different receive addresses, different cryptography behind it. So these are all different addresses that you can use. Now, if you want to go back to the original one without a passphrase, you just enter in a blank passphrase, and it'll go to the original account that you had. So that would be the way that you would navigate around with your passphrases. So you can forget device here, and you can disconnect it and connect it back up again. It'll ask you for your PIN. And if you want to get back to the original account that we had, you just enter no passphrase whatsoever. and you get back to the original screen that you were in. Okay, so that is how you would navigate around with passphrases, particularly on a Trezor 1 device. Unfortunately, that attack has occurred, and to protect yourself against that, you will need a strong passphrase. So that is something to consider. I would strongly encourage you to start playing around with Bitcoin wallets and getting comfortable with them and understanding how to receive Bitcoins, but also how to spend Bitcoin. That is something that you should get into the habit of doing. Never give out your private keys and your seed words to anybody, as well as the passphrases. So just be mindful of that. So before we move on to verifying our Bitcoin, I just want to stop there and pause. I understand that I've probably given a lot of information here. Now, here are some of the key words that I think that you will need to understand and make sure that you are comfortable with when it comes to Bitcoin wallets. The first thing is the seed words, the 24 or 12 seed words that get generated. The second thing is the passphrase. The third is the PIN. Understand xpub, ypub, zpub. Understand 6 confirmations, and understand UTXOs. I think those are the key words that I think that you will need to learn when it comes to Bitcoin. These are just part of the Bitcoin vocabulary. You will need to learn them and understand them. The BIP39 website will help you with all of that. But what will really help you is if you just open up a Bitcoin wallet, such as Blue Wallet or Samurai Wallet on your mobile phone, and start transacting and seeing how it looks and seeing how it feels. The best way to learn is to start to do Bitcoin transactions. Just use your mobile phone. Then maybe you might want to use a hardware wallet. Have a look at some desktop wallets. Do it with small amounts. Just get comfortable with receiving and sending transactions. So now we come to verifying Bitcoin. Now, the first rule is not your keys, not your coins. The second rule of Bitcoin is not your node, not your rules. And what that means is to actually verify that Bitcoin exists and that it is actually Bitcoin. You need to run what's known as a full Bitcoin node. Now, a Bitcoin node is the most trusted piece of software that tells you the status of transactions. Now, in all of these web wallets and some of these hardware wallets, you are using and fetching balances from a third party or that wallet provider. So, for example, if you go back to Samurai Wallet, that is querying from Samurai Wallet server. Blue Wallet, Trezor, Ledger, these guys will query their own servers to give you that information. What if one day they decided to put you on a chain that has 25 million coins and not 21 million coins? And so you would think that you would have 1 Bitcoin out of 21 million coins, when in fact you actually have 1 Bitcoin out of what they believe is Bitcoin that has 25 million coins. And so that presents a risk. And this is why you should be running your own Bitcoin node. A node verifies that you actually have Bitcoins based on your definition of Bitcoin. It also improves your privacy, because when you go out and query another Bitcoin node, that means that they have a log of your IP address requesting this particular xpub at this particular time, and it's not good for privacy. So this is why we need our own Bitcoin node. Luckily, we have some packages that you can run. I've listed them there. Umbrel, MyNode, Raspberry Blitz, Ronin Dojo are the main 4 ones, or the top 4. These are fantastic. Now, on my YouTube channel, I've done an entire series of how to set up a MyNode that I think the community is benefiting from. So keep an eye out for that, and I explain in more detail as to why you would run a Bitcoin node. I'm not going to go through much here, but it is something that you need to consider as you move up Storing Bitcoin should be the number one priority if you're beginning or if you're just starting out, and then you move on to running your own Bitcoin node as your learning and your development moves up the chain. So that is something that you will get familiar with a little bit later. Now, in terms of next steps, firstly, get familiar with a Bitcoin wallet, whether that's on your phone, that's on your computer, or on a hardware wallet. Get familiar with one and start doing a Bitcoin transaction. Receive and send for a small amount. Back up your words onto a metal device. Many of these wallets will say, write it down on a piece of paper. Now, a piece of paper is not the best place to put this. It's prone to any sorts of loss. For example, a fire goes up in your house, there's a flood, your dog ate it, or something like that, right? That anything can happen to a piece of paper. So what you want to do is put this into a metal device, okay? Now, the other thing that I want to make mention when it comes to ordering hardware or any sort of Bitcoin related things like hardware wallets or even, metal devices, never, ever, ever give away your details. Use a fake name, a fake email address, and a fake shipping address. Now, let me talk about these things. Fake name is very easy to make up. John Smith. Done. Fake email. Okay. What I recommend is using a website called simplelogin.io. Have a look at it. It essentially is a free and open source way of you to redirect emails. So you give out an email address and it comes back to your real inbox without having to give away your real email address. Simplelogin.io. Have a look at it. Fake address. Now, when you're buying things online, make sure that you do not send it to your home address. Send it to your work address. Or if you're in Australia, you can send it to a free parcel locker that is provided by Australia Post, or you can use a PO box or something different. Do not order goods and services for Bitcoin related things to your home address. Don't do it. It is a big no-no. Just don't do it. The next thing that I want you to do is get your Bitcoin off the exchange. Now, this is called self-custody. It is a big risk to keep your funds on the exchange. So please, please, please move them off there and do so with sense of urgency. Never give your words out to anybody. That is something that you just do not want to do. If it says here, please confirm your seed or anything like that, it is no. Just have your wits about you. Never insert your seed into anything. Unless you are recovering, and even then you want to do it on a hardware device if that's where it's come from. Consider multi-signature wallet options as well. Now, multi-signature is not something that you should be starting off with. That's well down that path of, you're familiar with Bitcoin transactions. You know what public keys and private keys are, and you've done Bitcoin transactions. You've set up a node and you're up and running there, and then you may consider multi-signature for later use if you want to do this DIY. There's also multi-signature options for that. There are companies out there who are offering multi-signature options, and basically what that does is essentially it's a multi-key wallet. So essentially, you might have a quorum. So you might have, usually it's a 3 of 5 or a 2 of 3. So you need 2 keys out of the possible 3 to be able to sign your Bitcoins, or a 3 keys out of a possible 5 keys to send your Bitcoins to another address. So essentially, it breaks things up and makes it a little bit more secure. Having said that, though, it is complicated for if you were to do it yourself, and so there are 2 companies in the space who are providing that service. There's Unchained Capital and Casa. So those are the 2 main companies that are providing this service, and so you may wish to look into those as well. Keep in mind, there's privacy issues potentially for all of those. Just be mindful of that though. But just have a read of what you think and make your own assessments. No one can tell you what to do with your Bitcoins and how to store them. There's no real gold standard. There's only just what you think is the best way forward. So these are some of the next steps for you, and hopefully that gives you some food for thought as a newcomer into the space. Now, my favorite setup at the moment is using a cold card with a piece of software called Spectre Desktop, which will then be backed by Bitcoin Core, which is your node. So you get the ability to verify your own transactions and hold your own keys all in one go. I have some material on YouTube, a video called Spectre Desktop, to which you can have a look at and you can see how that whole function works. If you want further detail, I do have a video on the Ministry of Nodes web store, which you can purchase and download, and that will take you through the entire setup end to end with a little bit more detail. If you want consulting as well, we offer private consulting sessions over Zoom. So if you would like to book a session in, you are more than welcome to. All the very best, and I will see you in the next video.